Tonight, police continue to investigate two deadly shootings in Peel region.
Multiple shots were fired into the vehicle onto the whole passenger side.
A male approached the victim. Shots were fired.
3 people shot inside their car as they got off Highway 410. Another man shot outside a Mississauga condo. Plus,
the West Toronto Rail Path will be beautified. It will look much more impressive than it is today.
Metrolinx is promising big improvements to a popular Toronto recreation trail. But first, neighbors will have to put up with construction of a new rail line. And the Toronto FC capitalize on a late penalty and advance to the Eastern Conference Finals in the MLS Cup playoffs. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. Peel police say they are now focused on finding who is responsible for last night's deadly shooting on Highway 410. It killed 1 man and left 2 others critically injured. Tonight, police say they've wrapped up their search for evidence and reopened an off-ramp that they'd kept closed all day as part of their investigation. Now, the shooting took place on that off-ramp to Derry Road from the northbound lanes. The victims were in a car that was sitting at a stoplight waiting to turn onto Derry when another car pulled up beside them and an occupant opened fire. 3 passengers in the car were hit, a woman and 2 men. 1 of the men died at the scene. The other 2 victims were rushed to hospital with critical injuries. Police say it appears to be a targeted drive-by attack. They are appealing for any witnesses, and in particular, anyone who may have dashcam footage.
If there is anything that someone has seen or caught a piece of footage or is now reviewing the footage and sees a piece of something around the timelines of that incident, that they contact us so that we can get that information.
Now, this is the second shooting on the 410 in the last 6 weeks. 18-year-old Ray Rooms Peters of Brampton was shot and killed when the car he was in was fired on the highway near Sandalwood Parkway. Well, just a couple of hours after that incident on the 410, Peel police responded to another fatal shooting at a condo near Burnhamthorpe and Confederation Parkway.
When officers arrived, they observed a male that was in the driver's side of the vehicle. He had suffered multiple gunshot wounds.
Now, that man died at the scene. Witnesses told investigators the man approached the victim, fired several shots, and then fled. Well, back here in Toronto, some concerns being raised tonight about the future of a popular recreation trail. The West Toronto Rail Path runs from Dundas to DuPont along a stretch of the GO train line. But Metrolinx wants to realign the path so it can proceed with service improvements along that corridor. That has some residents dreading construction, especially since it could also be delaying the path's future extension. Talia Ricci has that story.
As I was riding along this evening, I just couldn't help but take in, the different colors of foliage, and it's the time of year when it's particularly beautiful.
It's become a neighborhood gem, a sort of expressway for cycling, walking, and jogging that runs alongside the GO and UP express lines. But with Metrolinx planning to add a new track to the corridor, they'll need to give the rail path a bit of a facelift.
The rail path is realigned by a few meters to the east. We're adding features like parkettes, lighting, and an entrance to the GO station at Bloor Street. The West Toronto Rail Path will be beautified. It will look much more impressive than it is today. You'll have a connection off the rail path to GO station.
Metrolinx says construction will start in the springtime. Residents aren't looking forward to the disruption.
It won't be a particularly pleasant 2020, 2021 into 22. Parts of the path will still be fully accessible, but this central area where we're standing right now, I think will be really impacted, so that'll be a drag for people.
Construction is never easy. These things are, inconvenient, but at the end of the day, I think that we're going to get a connection underground from the community to the UP Express that eventually will connect with our own subway stations.
But residents tonight wanted to talk about expanding the rail path after this construction wraps up.
What I'm looking for is to get the work done so we can move on and spend our time working on the expansion further south down to Queen Street.
The one benefit everybody is wanting and waiting for is the West Toronto Rail Path extension down to King Street, further south, get us connected to the lakeshore somehow. And of course, that's not on the menu.
The city says it's working on that next phase. Metrolinx expects construction on the rail path to take about 2 years. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the City of Toronto is one step closer to approving the province's plan for the new Ontario line. City councillors will get to weigh in on it next week. But it's running into some opposition from residents who live near areas where the proposed new subway won't be running underground. City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly has more.
This Leslieville resident is used to trains trundling through his neighborhood.
You can't really speak to each other when the trains go by, and that's okay. We live in a city.
But the doctor and father is worried the province's Ontario line could tear apart this park and cause unhealthy levels of noise.
With the frequency of the trains and the volume that they bring, those decibels would really just decimate the heart of Leslieville.
Build it right! Build it now!
He's not the only resident raising concerns. Protesters filled Nathan Phillips Square this morning. While inside City Hall, close to 60 residents signed up to speak to Mayor John Tory's executive committee. Some worry there's no space for a new route alongside existing Metrolinx tracks unless the province expropriates people's homes.
The proposed overland route will wreak havoc on a densely populated, stable residential neighborhood to save some money.
Since the 15-kilometre Ontario line was first announced, questions have been swirling about its feasibility. The trains would start above ground near Ontario Place, head underground through the downtown core, then travel above ground again through big chunks of the East End.
Getting to the last leg of the route above ground would mean trains have to go all the way across the Don Valley.
Some residents say instead of dealing with those tricky logistics, the whole line should be tunneled underground. But Metrolinx argues having areas above ground could ease transfer points with GO trains and save some cash.
Those feel to me like excuses for what will be a devastating project for this neighborhood.
You can see why this issue hits so close to home for people in Leslieville. The rail corridor is right there, and there's a row of houses right across the street, and this sort of arrangement is happening all over this neighborhood. Mayor John Tory put forward a motion today to Executive Committee calling on the province to mitigate some of these resident concerns. That was approved. Also approved was the city's tentative arrangement with the province on transit. Now that's off to City Council for a final stamp of approval. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Carla Kennedy's here with the first look at the forecast. We could see some rain in the morning commute tomorrow.
Yeah, we may have some areas, Mike, that's right, where some of the roadways will be a little bit wet, so a little bit slower for your commute. Looks like they'll be somewhat scattered into the GTA, and a better chance just to the north of us is seeing some of those wet conditions a little bit earlier than that morning commute. These were the daytime highs from today, so still running a couple of degrees above seasonal, and some of that mild air thanks to the southwesterly winds. But of course, those southwesterly winds also kind of gusty, right? Even through the overnight tonight, we're still going to be seeing some of these wind gusts up there towards 30 and over 40 kilometers an hour, especially towards tomorrow morning. So think some wet roads, and then also some spots like, say, the Burlington Skyway. If you're driving a higher profile vehicle, it gets a little trickier there, and it really does slow things down for you. But by tomorrow afternoon, we'll find those winds beginning to ease as they eventually shift around to the west and then towards the northwest. So in terms of precipitation, yes, it breaks up a little bit, so some scattered showers early, and then isolated showers to the north and northwest of us into the afternoon. Otherwise, we're looking at a mix of sun and cloud. 9 degrees overnight tonight, tomorrow afternoon, that high 15, Mike.
Going to look good. Thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
A number of women who live in the Junction and High Park neighborhoods are warning tonight of a neighborhood creep. They're posting reports online about a man who's been preying on women, indecently exposing himself to them. Alice Chasson has the story.
I saw a car turn the corner there without a blinker, so it kind of caught my eye. He was coming down. It was like a red, I'm not going to say exact make, but it was like a Toyota Prius or a Ford Focus.
Like a hatchback looking kind of car.
Yeah, like a small car, and it had squeaky axles.
Last weekend's odd encounter turned disturbing in a matter of seconds. Lila Clarks was out walking with a girlfriend when...
Turns back, passes us, comes down a side street, parks his car, jumps out. He's about 6 to 6'4". He was stripped fully naked and he was like leaning back and touching himself.
She says she had seen the same man before in August. This time she tried to snap a quick cell phone video without him noticing.
He covered his face with, I think it was like a shirt or his pants or something. So I couldn't exactly identify him or anything like that, but I know he was a white male.
She posted it on the local neighborhood Facebook group and found
that I wasn't alone, that some people posted that it's happened to them or happened to a friend. It's shocking that he hasn't been caught.
Really disturbing. Yeah, it was really disturbing.
This woman wants to remain anonymous after her encounter with the same man a few months ago.
Just before midnight, between 11 and 12, I was out walking with a friend on Indian Road, and I had stopped to smell some flowers. It was springtime, and I heard a sound behind the bush, and I quickly realized there was movement. There was someone laying on the grass with their legs splayed open, and they were touching themselves inappropriately. I was shocked. My mind was racing. What should I do? Should I, report this? Was it safe?
She did call the local police detachment's non-emergency line.
I was put on hold for quite some time. They did take my name, but I didn't receive a follow-up call on that. So I'm not sure what was done or if they were able to speak to this individual.
The police say there are no recent reports on file. They also say they're aware of the reports on Facebook, but
posting it on social media is not helping police in this matter because we actually need that actual police report before we can start proactively following up.
Lila says she didn't call the police after her encounters with the man because she says he didn't touch her, so she wasn't sure it was a big enough issue to really sound the alarm. But she says after today, she will. Now, the police also tell me that typically in these indecent exposure cases, by the time they arrive on scene, the perpetrator is long gone. So they say that is all the more important that people report every one of these encounters so they can recognize a pattern and investigate more proactively. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
This will take our reliance off of compressed natural gas. It'll take our reliance off fossil fuels.
Well, the City of Toronto is trying something new, turning compost into fuel for the trucks that collect your compost. We'll tell you how it all works coming up after the break. Three people are facing charges tonight in connection with the protest outside a Maxime Bernier rally in Hamilton last month. One of them is a man whose family closed their restaurant in Toronto. Family members said they'd received death threats over his participation in the demonstration. Ala Al-Soufi is charged with intimidation and causing a disturbance. His family's restaurant has since reopened but is temporarily under different management. Two other men are facing obstruction and assault charges. Police say All of this happened outside a rally for the People's Party of Canada at Mohawk College. If you need another reason to make sure you put your food scraps in the green bin instead of the garbage can, well, we've got one for you. The city is now using organic waste to produce gas to fuel some of its city vehicles. Natalie Nanowski explains how it works.
You couldn't tell from looking at it, but this is where Toronto's organic waste ends up.
It doesn't smell here.
No, it shouldn't.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. If you're managing your waste properly, it should never smell.
At the back of the facility is where food scraps are lifted into giant containers and processed to make biogas, aka a renewable natural gas, that will be used by Toronto's 170 waste collection trucks. Currently, they run on compressed natural gas, a fossil fuel.
Renewable natural gas is a green form of energy. The fact that it's renewable is the fact that we're not extracting resources from the planet. It's coming in the form of food waste.
The waste goes through these anaerobic digesters, where the gas is separated and then pumped into a line. Toronto partnered with Enbridge to build the facility. It's one of the first in North America to convert food scraps to fuel.
This will take our reliance off of compressed natural gas. It'll take our reliance off fossil fuels.
The renewable natural gas will then end up here at one of the city's 3 refueling stations. City trucks drive up, plug in, and then get gassed up.
If Toronto chooses to displace 100% of compressed natural gas with renewable natural gas, those trucks will be net neutral, meaning they will be just as clean as any other electric vehicle or hydrogen vehicle being anticipated in the future.
The site will be fully operational in 2020. The trucks, though, will be running on a mix of natural gas and biogas, since it's still too costly to switch over completely.
We absolutely hope to make this less expensive as we get a little bit better at making renewable natural gas.
To optimize the process, the city needs to make sure all organic waste ends up in the green bin, not the landfill, where it takes 10 to 15 years to break down.
By sending it to this organic facility, we're able to process this immediately, so that energy is extracted much quicker.
The city estimates that the program will keep 9,000 tons of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, your standard shopping cart could soon be getting a high-tech makeover. Still ahead, we'll give you a look at a new smart cart being developed by Sobeys. Explain what's so smart about it, coming up.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
It was win or go home for Toronto FC and NYCFC tonight at Citi Field, with the winner advancing to the conference finals. No score in the first half, but TFC breaks through in the 47th minute thanks to Alessandro Pozuelo. Makes it 1-0 Toronto, but in the 69th minute, Maximilian Morales with the cross to Ismail Penjuri Shradi, and just like that, the game is tied. There's some drama in the 88th minute. Richie Laria is taken down. It's a penalty kick for TFC. Pozuelo steps up, and his cheeky kick gives Toronto a 2-1 lead in the final minutes. Toronto holds on for 5 minutes of added time to claim a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals. They'll face the winner of tomorrow's Philadelphia versus Atlanta match. And last night's Raptors game was another one for the record books. It was the most watched regular season NBA game in Canada ever. According to the NBA, 2.6 million Canadians tuned into all or part of the game, likely to check out the players getting their championship rings and to see the NBA championship banner unfurled. Colette Kennedy's back with her extended forecast. All that wind we saw today going to stick around for at least tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we are looking at not quite another 24 hours because you're right. By tomorrow, later afternoon, evening, things will be improving. So we're going to walk you through what's happening as that system, it's a big one, is working its way through and finally will leave us. I just want to point one thing out on the almanac here. SOG, if you're wondering what that is, it's not the snow that fell for this date in history. It's the snow on the ground. The record snow on the ground, 1969, 8 centimeters. You know, a few days back, well, last week, there was a day where there was 13 centimeters of snow. So see how lucky we are. We're just dealing with some of these winds around here. Yes, the atmosphere still wound up. We're looking at some isolated showers. I'll kind of show you where and when for those. And the temperature is still running above seasonal for tomorrow, and then it starts to change, and they'll begin to come down as we get towards Friday. So overnight tonight, you're looking at, yes, some isolated showers to the north of us, but watch this system kind of push through towards the south as we get towards the morning hours. That's why a few areas in the morning commute will see some scattered showers. It does break up a bit, so there's not a lot of moisture left, but still, and then some isolated ones north of the GTA into the afternoon. Otherwise, a mix of sun and cloud, and then into Friday, still quite a bit of cloud cover early in the day, and then by afternoon, we should be getting into a clearing trend. So we'll kind of call it a split decision on the clouds and the sunshine for you into your Friday. Overnight tonight for southwestern Ontario, still looking at those breezy conditions as the system moves through. These temperatures, because of that kick of those winds from the southwest, may actually rise a few degrees towards the morning hour, and then tomorrow they'll turn more towards the west. They'll ease up for you as well, and pushing you to highs of 15 to 16 degrees. Actually, a fairly pleasant afternoon on tap for you. Overnight tonight, those showers towards the morning hours, we're looking at lows of 8 to 9 degrees, running way above seasonal. Seasonal this time of year for overnight lows are between 2 and 3 degrees in the GTA. Tomorrow afternoon, those winds still gusty, but beginning to let up, and there you see the readings into the mid-teens again. So that's the good news, and then it's not bad news, but the temperature's dropping back closer to seasonal as we go towards Friday. So more clouds early, more sun later in the day, 11 degrees. Look at that overnight low. That'll be chilly Friday into Saturday morning. So starting off the weekend, a little cool, 11. And then the temperatures may bump up, but it comes with some rain showers for the second half of the weekend, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Sobeys is testing out some new smart cart technology it hopes could make a trip to the grocery store easier. It scans and weighs each item you place in the grocery cart, allowing customers to actually pay on the spot and avoid the lineups. We've got a special look at the technology today.
There's a barcode scanner here on the front.
You know, it's good. Anything that speeds up the overall process is something that you want to do.
We're just bringing our new Sobeys Smart Cart. So it's a new innovative way of doing your shopping. Think about the shopping cart. It hasn't changed for dozens, if not hundreds of years.
There's smart sensors and a lot of technology directly in the cart that you can see here. So one of the most notable things is 2 cameras here in the front, 1 here in the back. And this basically detects every single item that I'm putting inside of the cart, and it takes a lot of images of the product as I put it in the cart to train the shopping cart and make it smarter over time.
It will save some time and efforts as well, and might also help the store to save in the manpower as well.
So we're actually able to free up some employees from the front end to be on the floor, answering customers, talking about the food, helping them choose a recipe or a product. So it's more about being able to bring more people on the floor.
No, I will definitely give it a try. I'll see. I have to try it a few times. It's like anything else. And then if I like it, I will definitely use it. Yes, yes.
We know that people don't like to wait in lines. And there's this inconvenient thing with a regular shopping cart about having to take an article, put it in your basket, take it out at the front end, to put it back in a bag. And we think we solved that with a caper cart.
What we've been addressing is kind of changing the stagnant form factor. We want to provide the experience that you could now see online. You could sit at home on your couch and order groceries and they'll come right to your door. So we want to bring a lot of the benefits that you see in other ways back to the store.
Well, tomorrow is a big day for Toronto's most popular rapper. It's Drake's birthday, and to celebrate, CBC Music is planning a special series about his global impact.
It's Drake. He can rap over kicking the snare in his A1.
Let's go! Toronto wouldn't be in the conversation if Drake wasn't successful.
I already knew he was going to be the biggest star in the world, hands down.
This is the trailer for Drake's Plan, an 8-part documentary that will air on CBC Gem, with an abridged version running on CBC television in December. There's also going to be some interactive maps online of Drake's experience in the 6, along with a couple of music specials and a special Drake music stream. You can find the details at cbc.ca/music/decade of Drake. And Odario Williams, host of After Dark on CBC Music, will speak to Matt Galloway about that series tomorrow on Metro Morning, and again tomorrow at 6 with my colleague Dwight Drummond. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.